right, we're recording. I'm like a movie star right now. I'm just excited to have someone here today. Okay, let's go to the lesson. So you finished reading the story. I don't know if you have noticed that there's been a theme running through the entire course, and that's the idea of power. Different ways that you can get power, lose power, seize power. And that's what we're going to be doing with this sort of final analysis of the story, is taking a look at power dynamics, who has it, who doesn't, how do they get it. That's kind of the basis of what this lesson's going to be. So, there is power as a theme, this little organizer that I think I strongly suggest that you fill out as a way to get your mind wrapped around all the things that it should be wrapped around in order to do well in the final assessment piece. So you can click, there's a Word doc version of it and a Google Doc version of it. Just fill it out, point form, get your ideas around it. You're essentially going to be turning the ideas that you've generated through this organizer into your assessment piece. So, for this unit culminating, you are being asked to share your understanding of power dynamics, meaning the people that are involved in power, who has power, why do they have it, who doesn't have power, why don't they have it, how do people react to their lack of power, how do other people react to the fact that they have tons of power. I think that power changes people, right? Hopefully, you guys can agree with that idea. And then also sort of examining the things that are happening in the world that keep certain people in a place of power and keep other certain people in places on the periphery where they don't have power. So we've been sort of going over a lot of these ideas each sort of day as we've been going through chapter by chapter. So your final product needs to somehow make some type of commentary on how power works within the story. Is that making sense so far? Not really. Okay, let's really quickly talk. Well, let's go up to the chart here. Who has power? Can you name some people in the story that seemingly have power? Yep. And why does Curly have power? Exactly. Now, I'm not going to ask you to give up all of your quotes that show how he shows that he has power, but even the fact that he comes in angry all the time, always looking for his wife, and other people, Slim is the only one that really stands up to him, right? All of the rest of them just kind of don't say anything towards him because they're afraid of what might happen. So, in a lot of ways, he's the one that has power. I would argue, however, that Curly, while seemingly on the outside he has lots of power, in some ways he's lacking power as well. Can you think of any ways that he maybe lacks power? Yeah, 100%. So, like, in a very obvious, explicit sense, like, he lost physical power there. He always tries to act like he's a prize fighter. He keeps his hand in a Vaseline glove. Um, and there's all sorts of weird stuff that I think that connects to. But yeah, he totally tries to act like he's a prize fighter, goes on about his boxing all the time. And in that moment, in 2 cold seconds, Lenny shows him really that he's a nobody. Curly kind of has what I would call a Napoleon complex or a little man complex. So guys that are smaller sometimes like to act more aggressive because they have to somehow assert their masculinity, show that they are powerful even if they physically don't look like they're powerful, right? So in that way, for sure, I think he lacks power. But if I were to go even deeper, I might even say the Curly, while he is kind of one of the richer guys on the farm, he doesn't have to travel to and fro. I would say socially, he's a little bit on the outside too, right? Because he's the boss's son, people don't really like him, right? Part of the reason why I think they don't like him is because he's a jerk, but also because he's an outsider to the rest of the working class blue collar people, right? So even Curly's always trying to get on the fun and have relationships with people, and they kind of hold him at a distance a little bit. So I think as much as this is a short story, and it would seem on the surface that a lot of the characters are flat characters, meaning there's not a ton of changes to their personality or facets to their personality. If you take a look at things, you'll notice that even someone like Curly really if you look hard enough, can be a sympathetic character, right? So what you're going to do is you can focus on one character, but really I think you'll get a little bit more out of the assignment and probably get a better mark if you can analyze how lots of characters in the story have power or don't have power. Does that make a little bit more sense? Okay, with Curly, how does he keep his power? 100%. Let's see, moving on. What does the author tell us about the nature of power? So, what does it mean to have power or not have power? hmm Think about all of the people that lack power. How are they impacted by this? What happens? What type of personality do you have if you are constantly living a life where you have no control over your own life? You don't have to answer that question out loud right now, Kylie, if you don't want to, but it's something to think about because that's part of the power dynamic that I want you to be incorporating into your final product, right? So again, this is a video that everybody's going to watch. You don't have to give them all your brilliant ideas, neither do I. Everybody can work on building these ideas themselves, but this is what I want you to think about. Characters. Who has power, why they have power, how do people that lack power feel like their little puzzle piece in society, how do they fit into things when they feel like they have no control over their own lives? Geez, even the farm hands, the migrant workers, don't have a ton of control over their lives. They don't get to choose where they live. They got to go where the work is, right? And there's something to be said about how that impacts a character as well when you can't even control your physical surroundings, right? So those are some of the ideas I want you to start unpacking as part of your pre-writing process. Fill out the chart. I'd like to see you guys submit the chart with your final product. Okay, so as for the final product, you need to somehow be breaking down this idea of power, and how you're going to present it is entirely up to you. I've given lots of different options here. The first is to write a 5 paragraph essay where you break down what it means to be powerful or what power is. I haven't given you guys a ton of direction with what your thesis would be. So if you do decide that you would like to be writing the 5 paragraph essay and you would like to run by a thesis statement by me, by all means, I'm happy to have you do that and we can sort of conference ideas there. Another alternative is to pretend you're creating a soundtrack. So if you were going to be creating the CD, I know you guys are young, you don't listen to CDs anymore, I'm so old, but like a playlist for songs that correspond or sort of help tell the story of power within Of Mice and Men, come up with at least 10 songs that somehow fit into or explain how power works in the novel. And in addition to just listing the songs, you need to explain why you chose each song. So if you're going to be singing, I don't know, I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up. I don't know, I'm some like this is like an old song y'all don't even know anymore. This this is Destiny's Child, but if I'm gonna pick that song, I gotta explain where in the story I think that fits, what character I think that fits with, what pick out maybe a line from the song where you say this line in particular really relates to this character, for example. So that's one option. A second option. Another option is to do a 2 to 3 minute long movie trailer. So for those of you that are really good with video editing and that's your jam, this might be a good option for you. In addition to that 2 to 3 minute movie trailer where you're visualizing and putting into images what this power dynamic looks like, I want you to have a paragraph long write up explaining how your trailer represents those power dynamics for the story. You could also do an Instagram account. So anybody that has Instagram knows that there's like a little biography portion when you're creating your profile. And then I want you in your Instagram to have at least 10 posts that somehow you could have posts that, I don't know, like Curly's wife would post this or Crooks would post this. I don't know, something along those lines. And then in addition to those 10 posts, similarly to how you would do with the soundtrack assignment, is you're going to explain why those posts, who they fit with, what characters, what themes, what conflicts they fit with, and how are they unpacking the concept of power. Glogster is another example. So back in the day, y'all would probably buy like a Bristol board from the dollar store and you would put a bunch of images and text and you would do something visual like that. Glogster is a virtual version of that. So you can have images, you can put little bits of text, you can do movie clips, sound clips. If you're going to do a Glogster, I want you to have at least 10 items on your virtual poster and then a paragraph explaining how they fit into the concept of power and how that plays out in a story. For those of you that are more visual and you like art, you could do an original piece of art. You could draw something or paint something or even write your own song. I don't know, it depends on what kind of art you're into. In addition, if you're going to do that, you also need to have a paragraph where you explain, let's say you do a painting, explain how that painting represents how power dynamics play out in the story. If you are going to do an original piece of art, I need you to snap pictures of the process work. So if you did a sketch, snap a picture of the sketch. Snap a picture of you with like half of the color done on it. Snap a picture of the final product with all of the color done on it. Something so that I know that you didn't just Google an image and then swipe it and say that you did the art. I want you to prove to me that it is in fact your original piece of art. So the documentation on that one is going to be really important. Lastly, as an option, you could do just like a basic slideshow presentation with at least 10 slides that break down how power works in the story. And if you are going to do the slideshow presentation, I absolutely need you to have some sort of audio component. So that would maybe be your voiceover, like you presenting the presentation. You could do a screencast-o-matic over top of your slideshow to do that. Alternatively, if you use Prezi or PowerPoint, you have the option to insert audio that way as well. So again, what does this final product look like? It's really up to you. You got to pick your forte, pick your strengths. Are you more of a writer? Are you more into music? Are you more into visual arts? Are you into social media kind of stuff? Pick the one that appeals to you because obviously you want to get the best mark that you can. Okay, level 4 product is going to be really creative. Like honestly, I've seen a lot of students just swipe stuff from Google and I can tell that it's swiped from Google, right? I want to see you really buying into the creative process with any of these options that you choose. You also want to make sure that whatever it is you're handing in is polished. So make sure there's no spelling errors, grammar errors, anything like that. If you're doing something that's like actually a piece of art, you want it to be neat and not just like a pencil sketch. You want it to look nice. And then this is a big part because it's part of the rubric. You must include quotes somehow, whether that be in your paragraph descriptions or in the piece of art itself. But if you want to get a level 4, you're going to have quotes from the book and you're going to cite hopefully what page you got those quotes from as well. At the end, you're going to include a works cited page, even if it's just like if you do a painting, in addition to the painting and the paragraph, you're going to do one page with works cited, and you're just going to include the Of Mice and Men, the book itself. Does that help clarify anything? Okay, hang on just a second. Stop sharing. Where am I at? Where am I at? Ah, now you can see me again. Okay, is there anything else that you still need clarity on? Sounds good.